Welcome to Adjusting to Six Figures. Two best friends that turn their lives around, professionally and personally. So if you're looking to change, we tell it like it is, with no bullshit. Shut up with the excuses and make something of your life. Let's do this. This is Adjusting to Six Figures. And here are your hosts, Jeremy Rettig and Chris Stanley.
Welcome, my friends. Jeremy Rettig here from Adjuster University. This is the Adjusting to Six Figures podcast, and I'm actually doing something completely different on today's episode. I'm not joined by anybody. I'm not joined by any guests. I'm not joined by my best friend, Chris. It's just me on this episode, and I was trying to figure out what I would spend my time talking about during this episode. I'll be honest with you, I've been frightened to do a podcast all by myself. I mean, can any one person really talk all that much just off the cuff, no script? So I really wasn't looking forward to it. But, you know, we've gotten so much, our fan base here, all the listeners to the Adjusting to Six Figures podcast obviously are involved in the same line of work as me. A large number of our listeners are all in the insurance industry somewhere, you know, in insurance property damage industry, claims adjusting, things like that. So we get a lot of requests for insurance adjusting related podcast episodes. And we try to keep it much more broader than just talking about what we do for a living. So on this episode, seeing as that it's just me, I wanted to make an episode that spoke about what it's like for someone that just recently became an independent insurance adjuster to get licensed and to be able to go out and go on deployments and make catastrophe money and do things like that. So if you're not familiar with independent insurance adjusting, and this is what I do, and I founded Adjuster University. It's an online training company for independent insurance adjusters. So we do pretty well. You know, you could get started as an adjuster with really very, very little formal training. You don't need to go to college. It's basically just a freelance endeavor where instead of freelancing photography for a wedding or, you know, freelancing your ability to write instead of freelancing in that regard, you're freelancing for insurance companies. You're acting as an insurance adjuster to fill in the needs of an insurance company when they don't have the staff to get a particular job done themselves. So when you become an independent adjuster, you get to a point in the very beginning where things are obviously new and you don't quite understand what to do next. What this episode is about, we're going to dig into that. So every independent insurance, first, before we even get started, what is an independent adjuster really? And I ask that question because so many people get it wrong. And it's interesting to me to see how people will reframe what we do into something that it's not. And earlier, just a few moments ago, I described something with a photographer, right? A photographer at a wedding. If you hire a photographer to come to your wedding, you have a couple different options. You can either go with a company or you can go more with an individual. So if you go to the company, you call their office and You give them your information, and then they send somebody out there. They send one of their employees out there, and the employee is probably just getting paid the same thing that they normally get paid. They get paid hourly, and that's the way it works. So you have a company, the photography company, and they find an employee to go out there. That employee gets paid no matter what. The company, it's their obligation, it's their fiscal obligation to continue to keep that employee going out there, taking pictures so that they can earn the revenue to pay his salary, and they keep the difference, right? That's very understandable. Now, your second option after that is just an individual. This is not someone who's has an office or has a receptionist for you to call. This is a person, Sarah Williams Photography. And you just call, you found a little Sarah Williams Photography. You might have found a website. You call the number, the local area code number that's on there. And then you get right in touch with Sarah. And that's where you can talk about what's going to happen. And she's going to ask if you can pay cash and things like that. Okay. So that person most likely is not making a salary. That's because that person is working on their own. That person created the website. That person got the Facebook ad. That person did what they had to do to get their service in front of you. And now it is their job to sell you on that service so that you will give her the money and she will continue to go and pay her bills and make her profit. So that is a freelancer. If you're a freelancer, that is a person who basically is a non-employee. You're not an employee for any particular company. You're willing to work with an array of people, a large volume of clients, or you could work with a few, or you could work with none. It's completely up to you. That is a freelancer. Now, an independent insurance adjuster is a freelancer. Everything is pretty much the same. It is a freelancer, but in this industry, we call it independent. So when you're independent, you've finally decided to quit the 9-to-5, to become, to stop whatever you were doing, to form a career, and you're going to be an independent insurance adjuster. And that word independent switches your thinking a little bit. Now, when you're coming from a stable job, it can be difficult to understand that you're not guaranteed money in this. If you're going to take your independent adjuster license and you're going to get a job at State Farm or a job with some insurance company where you're going to be collecting that salary, then it doesn't matter so much. But when you're an independent, you need to understand that you're not an employee anymore. You're not going to get a consistent flow of income from your employer. You need to look for more than one company to work with. That is where your business comes from. And it is a business. That's what a lot of the employees think differently. So to go back to the example with the wedding photographer, a wedding, typically, that wedding only happens one time. So after every wedding is over, that wedding photographer has to go find another new client. If they don't find a new client, then they're not going to make any money. Then they're going to have to go back to bartending or whatever they were doing before. So when you're an independent insurance adjuster, what you need to understand at the very get is that you need to think like that. This is not a game where you say, oh, who's hiring? If you ask the question, who's hiring, you've already lost, because that's the wrong question to ask. The real question to ask is who's paying? Because if it's somebody that is paying for a service that you provide, then that company should be a company worth your interest. And you shouldn't be thinking about individual companies either. You need to be thinking about a large network of companies, and that's exactly what you need. So you're new to adjusting, you just got in. Your number one task that you need to have from the very beginning, because understand, you've already got your license. If you're living in California, you've already got your California state license. You can legally adjust claims in that state, whether it's Texas, Florida. If you're in a non-licensing state, you should get a license anyway, just to show that you have that level of competency, that you understand what insurance is, what a claims adjusting is, you understand all this stuff. But no matter what, you have the legal ability to adjust insurance claims in your state. What comes after that, and always comes after that, is marketing. Now, the reason I say this is because so many adjusters, so many people that get involved in this, they get it wrong. They don't think marketing, because marketing is a business term, right? You don't do marketing when you're an employee. So many people think like an employee, and that's the problem. So you need to begin to market yourself. So what is it? What does that mean? What does it mean to market yourself? If you've come from a business background, if you had your own business before becoming an independent adjuster, this might not seem as foreign to you. But for employees, it's different. So when you're an employee, you kind of do market yourself in a way, but you may not recognize it. When you go out to the mall, you're going to get a job at the mall. You go there with your resume, right? You're 16, 17, 18 years old. You're going to get a job at the mall. Maybe you're going to get a job at Annie Ann's. Maybe you're going to get a job at the movie theater. But you go there, and you go there to fill out applications. You're going to go to each store. You're going to say hello. Maybe you meet the manager. And then you're going to ask them for an application. You fill out the application, you hand it back. That is the simplest. That example right there is the simplest form of just old school marketing. You are putting your name and information, you're putting your likeness out there to other people. And you're filling out that application, which that application could be considered in a way an advertisement for you. You're advertising yourself to this potential employer, but you're doing so inside the confines of an application. What you want is for that potential employer to read your application, and even though they read 9 other applications before that, they're going to choose your application. And that's maybe why you lied a little bit on the work history, because that document is a piece of marketing material, and you are marketing yourself to whatever business, whatever store you drop that resume off to. Now, it's no different. We still need to get our names, our contact information, our likeness, all that sort of stuff in front of people that will potentially pay us. And that's what you need to understand. It's the same thing. It's just a little bit different than what most people get, because we're not looking for just one employer. We need several of them. And that's how you be very successful, is when you have a large number of potential clients routinely coming to you to see if you're available for some work, because they know that you provide a good service and they want the best service for the independent adjuster, for the insurance companies that independent adjusting firm works with. So you need to market. Now, the biggest thing that new adjusters think is that it's going to be impossible for them to find work if they're new. That's the biggest thing. And it's not just independent adjusters. I don't want it to sound like that, because it's every industry. It's every industry, and it's not a mystery why. It's every industry. The one big thing that new adjusters, anybody that's new to a field, you've got a college degree. How can I get experience if the companies that are looking for what I'm doing are only accepting people who already have experience? How are you going to get a job if you have no experience And all the companies want people that have experience. How could that be? How could you ever get into it? So then the second thought that usually comes after that is, hey, what companies are taking on brand new people? So there are companies that will take on brand new people, for sure. Doesn't happen often. But the reason why I bring that up is because I would like everyone to just for a moment take the perspective, consider the perspective of a company, like an independent insurance adjusting company, a claims company. Put yourself in their shoes for a moment. Okay. You have a staffing problem. Your staffing problem is that you need someone in a particular area. You need several people in a particular area. Let's say it's my area, the Northeast United States. You need staff there. You need boots on the ground. You need people that are going to help you because you just landed. This is a small company. It's your own company. You just landed an account in the Northeast, which means your business is going to be bringing in more money. Okay? But you need to service that client. If you can't service that new client the way that they're expecting you to service them, they're going to find somebody else. Now, you can't get out there. You aren't the boots on the ground. You're not going to facilitate the work. You're going to need to find personnel in that area so that they can properly satisfy your client and that your client will continue to give business to you and your business will continue to succeed. Now, putting yourself in the shoes of that person, what would you do? You probably would put up help wanted ads, right? You'd put up, what do you go on, ZipRecruiter? Let me ask you a question. What would you say if I gave you 3 words that you can add to that post, to that job listing, that will immediately thin out the people who have never actually done what you're looking for done? In other words, what if I gave you 3 words that would immediately, inherently raise the quality of the applicants that are coming through your ad? Would you take that offer? Would you ask me to share that with you, those 3 words? Of course you would. You mean to add 3 words and the applicants are better? Hell yeah. Of course you're going to want that. Here are those 3 words. Experience is required. That's it. You put experience in is required. 3 words, takes you a fraction, takes you 2-3 seconds to put that in your job post. Immediately your applicants become better because you're only getting applicants with experience. But it is impossible for this industry or any other industry to strictly rely on already experienced people, already experienced staff. It doesn't work like that. And you're giving way too much credit to the people who happen to have experience. You're basically considering the people that already have experience to be, no matter what, better help than anybody else out there. As if the whole industry just naturally formed a perfect team. It's not the case. It's not the case at all. Let me explain something to put some of the new insurance adjusters, independent insurance adjusters at ease. This industry is filled with awful adjusters. This industry has absolutely no shortage of people who other people really don't want to work with. It's filled in there. But for every person that's already in this industry, for every person that already has that experience, there is another person there that can perform that same job, the actual job itself, not hold the knowledge, not hold the experience, but the actual performance of that job, that there is another person that's out there that can perform that job better. Maybe they just don't know the software very much. Maybe they just don't know the policy very much. Maybe there are several things that they need to improve on, but they will get that job done easier. They will get that job done more effectively. They're out there, but you'll never get that opportunity unless you start pursuing your clients, unless you start sending those frequent emails, getting them used to seeing your name constantly to the point where they finally figure out, hey, wait a minute, we need somebody in South Carolina. Somebody has been contacting me for weeks that lives in South Carolina. Maybe we'll just ask that person. And then just like that, you get your opportunity, and then you finally got over that little hump of having experience. But it will just avalanche after that, because you continue to hammer, you continue to market. It doesn't matter that you have no experience. You continue to market, and over time, you will get more. I've removed myself from claims for long periods of time, I think about 3 times. And even though I'm great at marketing, even though I've got the website, all these things, when I remove myself, it doesn't just turn back on for me. It still takes a little bit to get the wheels moving again. And that's me in my position. I'm in a great position, but even in my great position, it still takes a little time to get those wheels moving. So if you're new and you're still trying to come over the hump of getting experience, you're at a way larger disadvantage than I am. You got to hammer at a ferocity that's way harder than I have to. And there's going to be a little bit of luck involved too. You want luck. Luck happens to the people who are prepared. So you continue to market. Now, the second part, let's dig a little deeper for marketing in a second. Marketing is not only getting your name out there, but it's getting your name out there and getting your name presented in a way that is most appetizing to the person that you're going after. Okay. What does that mean? That means beefing up the resume. That means adding in certifications, adding in designations, which by the way, before I even go any further, you have to know that there's a lot of people out there that just that become an adjuster and then just get immersed in the hundreds and hundreds of certifications and designations, and they just focus their career as an independent adjuster on just creating a great resume, but they're broke. They're broke because nobody's paying them. Nobody's paying them because nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows who they are because they're not marketing themselves. So this is a thing you have to do both. And what I say, you immediately, the number one priority is to begin getting your name out there. I say get your name out there before you even get a license. If you know you're getting a license, if you know you're going to do this, just put your name out there. Get it out there. They're not going to give you money. Legally, you can't even accept the work that they're going to give you. But get your name out there. Let them know, hey, you're coming around the corner. You're going to be here. They're going to say, get the hell out of here. Why are you emailing me? You can't even work. Just email them anyway. Because eventually you are going to get that license. And you're going to be emailing them again. And they're going to say, look at this guy. Look at this girl. She finally got her license. She thinks we give a shit. But then you keep hammering them. And eventually you get it. Odds are you're going to get it. This is normal stuff. This is sales. Getting your message out there and just continuing to hammer. Don't worry about it if they think you're annoying. Don't worry about it if you think they're going to say no. Don't worry about it. Get in front of them. Harass them if you have to. But the key is you have to get in front of them. You have to get them used to who you are. You got to get them seeing your name. You got to get them seeing your picture. You got to get them thinking of you when they're not at their email inbox. You got to get them thinking of you when they're not by their phone, because you're becoming a part of their life. And now they will think of you when they need something that you provide. And when you get that phone call with them, you need to lock it down. You need to immediately just, if it's a phone call just about you getting on the roster, then you got to get their information, your information back over to them. But always look for someone that works in your area. What I mean is, there's going to be, at these adjusting companies, there are going to be claims managers, specific people that are working for that company that are handling claims in any specific area, or they're not at all. Now, here's what I mean. One particular company could have clients that give them, let's just say, every state on the eastern half of the United States. Okay. So they'll have different claims managers. So they're going to get people like you, the independent insurance adjuster, the property adjuster, the boots on the ground. They're going to find you in the spots where they need you, but they need someone to manage all of these independent adjusters. So they're going to assign a manager to them. And there's different structures and things are going to work differently, but they're going to assign most likely someone to that area. Find out who that person is and then get a hold of that person. Because that is the person. Aside from someone who's going to review your work, that is really one of the people that are super responsible for your performance. And you could bet that they have people that they hate. You could bet that there are other adjusters that they absolutely despise working with. And those are the people that you target. Those are the people that you want to bump off. You can already assume that they're not happy with all the independent adjusters that they work with. Find out who that person is and get them on your side. It's the easiest trick. It is the easiest trick in the book. And sometimes it can be even easier. The person that you speak with over the phone might already have a very good understanding of how their independent staff is. So these are what I just explained here with what to do if you're a new adjuster, how to get from the point of from getting licensed to actually making money. What I just explained here is basically how you get any business to work. Because I have news for you. This isn't much different than any other business. We're just doing insurance claims. It's a service-based business. If we were an estimator for a construction company, it would be almost the same thing. We're building a business. That business is a service-based business where we investigate and handle, one way or another, insurance claims. In order for us to keep the lights on, to keep gas in the truck, in order for us to earn the cost for our operating expenses, we need to find clients. In order for us to walk away after those expenses with a profit so that we can put food on the table, so that we can go on vacation, so that we can buy that new car. In order for us to do that, we need to generate sales. Now, in order for us to generate sales, we need to find people that are going to pay us for our service. Now, as an independent insurance adjuster, most of the time, you would go after an independent adjusting company. That is a person that's going to pay you. So how many of those people do you think you should have? 1, 2, 3. If the more companies you have in your back pocket, if the more companies that you have will give you a greater assurance that you will always be busy, that you will never run out of work, that you will have the greatest selection of work, and that though the average cost of your work per hour is as high as it possibly could be, and that you can only achieve that with a high number of companies in your back pocket, how many companies do you think you should go after? As many as possible, right? It's a no-brainer. It's just like any other business. Find your potential client and continue to get them on board, to continue to get onboarded with them, continue to ask them if they have work in your area, what's going on, if there's anything you could help. You just can ask them about the weather. It doesn't matter what you ask them. Just keep getting in front of them. Keep reminding them of what you do. Keep reminding them of what you can do for them. Eventually, you're going to land that first client. And I could bet that the second client's not too far after that. Sales and marketing. Sales and marketing. Those are the two things that are going to get you to where you want to be as an independent insurance adjuster. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this one. Just a little bit on what to do if you are a new independent insurance adjuster. You might have thought that I would tell you to get software training, or you might Xactimate training, or whatever else you're going to. You might have thought that I was going to tell you to get State Farm certified. Listen, these are all things that you could definitely do to beef up that resume to look better, but that is not going to get you paid. What I want you to do if you're a new independent insurance adjuster is to get paid. I don't care what certifications you have. I don't care what designations you have. What I care about is whether or not you're making money. And I think that that's truly what you care about too. But if right now all you're thinking about, if you're not thinking about marketing and you're thinking about more so just what certifications to get, you got to get out of that thinking. That thinking is not going to get you paid. You always put the marketing first, beefing up the resume second. Just like I said before, first thing you should do, doesn't even matter if you're not licensed, is get your name out there. That's your number one priority. That always comes first. While you're doing that, do these other things to make yourself look better, but you're always putting your name out there. Guys, thank you so much. We're going to do another solo podcast pretty soon. Let me know how you liked this one. Like I said, this one was for my independent adjusters. So, guys, thank you so much. I'll catch you on the next episode.